One of the most important characteristics in Wizard101 is a spell deck. It is the bread and butter of any wizard. However, what if we were to take that away? With that being said, can you beat Marleybone without using a deck in Wizard101? The rules of this challenge are very simple. You can't use your spell deck. Now, in order to actually take on the challenge, we must rely on item cards. These can usually come from gear, amulets, and pets. The very first thing I did in preparation was I sold all the items I've gotten from robbing the tombs of Crocoland. After getting enough gold, I went to the pet pavilion, and by using the kiosk, I hatched for a wandering eye pet. The very next thing I needed to do was get Ra's wand in Crocoland. Now you might be wondering, why would I need this wand? Well, the main reasoning is that it comes with a lot of cards. I also went back to the bazaar in order to buy the level 10 amulets that provided me with the elemental shields. Now, for whatever reason, the game only allows me to see item cards if I have a deck in my backpack. So for this reason, I have to have a deck inside my backpack in order for you guys to see the item cards I'm gonna use. Oh yeah, here's a fun thing I found. If you don't have a deck in your backpack and you click to view where the item cards are located, the game crashes. Down below, you'll see my item card slots. These cards are what I have to work with. What the heck get those out of here. And with that, I went to Marleybone. The very first thing I did in Marleybone was address an NPC that we'll never see again. So I headed to Old People's Station. There I met Sherlock Homeless, who told me to assist a old lady in Hyde Park. At the park, the old lady named Miss Con Artist told me to head down a deep dark alley. While waiting in the alleyway, a homeless person immediately attacked me, since I didn't have a spell deck or a purse to defend myself. I smashed the perpetrator's head with my trusty Cyclops sledgehammer. The streets of Marleybone can be a dangerous place. Even the safe houses aren't that safe. The next thing I needed to do was collect lockpicks from the mini thugs. As it turns out, the boss of the operations in Hyde Park was none other than Woody from Toy Story. Unfortunately, the Woody clones decided to kidnap Bragster because he showed off his new Nike sneakers. I went back to Sherlock Homeless and told him about Bragster and what happened to him. Sherlock then advised me to go to Cheapskate Court, because that is where all the hot items are being pawned. Surprisingly, a middle-aged lady wandering the streets at night told me where I could find Bragster. Now at this point, I faced my first myth boss. Now you'd think I'd be stuck, right? Well, the thing is, I forgot to tell you guys one other thing. Through the use of iCarly's Tiger, I have access to 2 Insane Bolts, which if you didn't know is a spell that either does 10,000 damage to yourself or 1100 damage to the enemy. Luckily for me, the weather forecast predicted heavy thunderstorms, but that didn't mean he was safe from them either. The next thing I had to do was go and defeat Timmy Icepick. And it wasn't actually that difficult. I had access to an amulet with 3 ice shields. Although his teeth were clean, his clothes weren't anymore. The next thing I needed to do was rescue Bragster from Potboy. Luckily for me, he did not carry any myth shields at all. After rescuing Bragster, I went to Zeke to purchase a mount, because the streets of Marleybone can be very dangerous on foot. I decided to go back to Sherlock Homeless with Bragster. Sherlock wanted to talk to us in private, so we broke into a house on Barker Street. We wanted to find out who was behind the high crime rates in Marleybone. Here's a fun fact, you can't actually find any foxes in Wizard101's Marleybone, but you can find a lot of them in Part 101's Marleybone. Anyway, Sherlock told me that the best place to look would be in Ironworks. In Ironworks, a lot of the gangsters were tiptoeing in order to show their dominance. But like the rest of the wannabe gangsters before them, they couldn't stand the sight of a giant frog. Nails on the Head decided to stand in the way of me meeting the gang leader. So I did the only thing I could think of, which was to hammer in the nails into his head. I was then tasked by Bragster to complete a stupid puzzle, but in order to get into the gang leader's inner sanctum, I needed to find the password. So guess what we have to do? Fight another myth boss. Apparently while in the warehouse, I act as a lightning rod. But I wasn't worried. Like cats, I have 9 lives. Well, technically I do have infinite lives, but you get the point. They say lightning doesn't strike twice, but that's cause people never actually got hit by lightning twice. Luckily, for the third time, lightning did strike, just not on me. After striking down the sneaky boy with Zeus's wrath, I headed for the gang leader's inner sanctum, like nails on the head before him. His head too was hammered. Except it wasn't enough, I needed the help of my muscular boy. The next thing I needed to do was head into Newgate Prison. Except it's not really a prison, it's more like a city. Also, the guards don't actually do anything at all. So Marleybone is more or less a lawless place. At the prison, we are trying to stop Moriarty. While chasing him, his rat minion decided to have a heart attack. Towards the end of the chase, I was met by none other than Maelstar and his pack of Halloween goons. Even though Maelstar and his goons almost tricked me, I gave them a treat in the form of stomach acid. As I looked around, I began to wonder, why is there a prison on top of a jail? Anyway, I continued onwards with our quest. Even though I failed to capture the rat-faced man, I returned to Watson. My next task was to head into Knight's Court, where a bunch of old dog ladies wandered at night. Who am I kidding? It's always nighttime in Marleybone. Here I confronted Jocks. I'll just call him Jax for short. Apparently, as it turns out, he was known as the residential stalker. Legend has it he was named after a real-life person in London who took candy from babies. Instead of candy now, he took stomach acid, so at least it's easier to digest. After defeating Jax, I was asked to feed the stray cats in Knight's Court. One of the cats had difficulty eating, so I had to force it down. I helped Sergeant Steg raid a dog lady's apartment. I knew he wanted her dirty laundry, but all I found was a white glove. Then I went into the Marleybone glove store in order to have it identified, and sure enough, it was a real glove. Returning to Knight's Court, Sergeant Steeg told me that it belonged to none other than Jax. The important thing was that he was able to get a second helping of frog throw-up. After feeding the malnourished cats and helping the old dog ladies get off the streets, I returned to Watson and he sent me to Crazy Cat's lair to investigate the whereabouts of the rat-faced man. It was easy since it was conveniently located next to a prison. In the lab, I defeated Iron Woody and Clunker with Humongo Frog. It then came time to do some dumb puzzles again. I get that there has to be puzzles, but don't blatantly give the answers away. I also shut down some smokestacks and met Crazy Cat. Like Jax before him, he also wanted some food. Jorgen Knuckles then appeared to show me the way to the rat-faced man. I was told that he was at the very top of the Croco Museum. I'm not even kidding, the museum only has Crocotopian furniture. Unfortunately for me, I had to help Gus at Counterweight East. So you know the usual by now, except this added 3 flights of stairs. When I finally made it to Sprockets, I poured it out in search of health because my potions were all used up. This was where I found the elusive Ghost and Goblins Easter egg called "Do the whole dungeon all over again." King Zyzo seems to love putting out this Easter egg for people to find. Anyway, with the time, I figured I would replenish my potions again for the next run of the dungeon. After climbing 3 flights of stairs along with fighting multiple Woodies, I had made it to Sprocket again. You'd think the boss would protect himself, but he went down to the Lord of Frogs. Next, we had to meet Sully at Counterweight West to help fix a cog or something. I mean, why can't I just go straight to the top of the museum? Anyway, another 3 flights of stairs and a bunch of broken Woodies later, it was time to face the main boss, Ironclad Woody. But this time, he had backup. His backup really didn't do anything, so you know how things went. Finally, it was time to confront the rat-faced man. But the catch was I had to take 15 elevator trips upward, filled with Woodies, spiders, ghosts, and useless NPCs that don't help you. Also puzzles, can't forget about those. Now you might be thinking, but Hunter, he is myth, you got nothing to hit him with. Yeah, that's true, but I have the power of Ambrose and anime on my side. After dying about 3 times or so with the destructive power of Insane Bolt, I was able to get the upper hand and obliterate both the severely injured and rat-faced man. With the final strike, I had saved Marleybone and earned the title of Time Waster. Returning to Sherlock Homeless, I turned in the last quest and beat Marleybone without a deck. Alrighty guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Click the like button if you did, dislike it if you didn't, but I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and peace out.